Good morning, everybody. We have two parshiot that are ending the Sefer Shmot, beautiful Sefer of the Geulah, of the Sefer Shmot, and we are talking about building the Mishkan. And as we said, there is a lot to learn from all those details, though that they look to us, why do we need all those details? And we have four parshiot, I think, talking about the Mishkan and all the things, the details of details that are talking about. But Baruch Hashem, now we get to the point of building it, of really building it. And Vayakhel is, what's the meaning of Vayakhel? That Moshe Rabbeinu called everybody. And the Torah is telling us like that we won't make any mistake, and we have to understand and realize what it's all about, because the Torah tells us specifically, Vayakhel, 1 minute, the first pasuk of the Parsha, where is it? Vayakhel Moshe et kol adat bnei Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu gathered together all the children of Israel, all of them. Vayomer elehem ele advarim. Those are the things that God ordered you to do. And then it starts with Shabbos. Sheshet yamim ta'aseh melacha, v'yom hashish Shabbat yeh lachem. By the way, if you remember, last week we also talked about Shabbos. But last week, Shabbos was first of all, we had the Mishkan, then we had Shabbos. And here in our Parsha, it's the opposite. First of all, we have the Shabbos, and then Vayomer Moshe el kol, and again, listen, el kol adat bnei Israel. It's not talking to this tribe or the other tribe, to all of Israel. Kol adat bnei Israel. That's what God ordered us to do. You should take a truma and to build the Mishkan. And here, again, we have to understand, why is the Torah changing? Okay, we want to talk about Shabbos again, no problem. Talk about the Mishkan for Parashiyot, there's no problem. Talk about Shabbos. Shabbos is very important. And it's a basic thing in our tradition, in our belief. But why last Parsha, first the Mishkan and then Shabbos, and in our Parsha, first the Shabbos and then the Mishkan? So one of the beautiful answers is to show us the love of God. What does it mean? When God ordered us what to do, he put the Mishkan that is for us, so we can contact with God and we can redeem our sins, we can bring the sacrifices, and it's also a tshuva against the Chet HaEgel, that's for us. And then Shabbos, Shabbat LaHashem. Shabbos is for God. That we are doing for God. The Mishkan is God doing it for us, so we have a way to go back to God. Anyway, now Parsha, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, 1 minute. What is more important? More important is, we are more important than God? Definitely not. So first of all, Shabbat LaHashem. First of all, Shabbos to God. Then, Am Yisrael, the Mishkan. There are a lot of explanation about what exactly it is, but we have to understand that everything's got a meaning. If something is changed, if something is not in the right place, it's got a meaning. There's something in it. And this is exactly what's happening here. And now we have to understand also a very interesting point. When he tells them to bring the truma, you should take a donation to who? To God. Truma LaHashem. All those who are generous in their heart will bring it. What should they bring? Trumat Hashem. But you said it already. In the same pasuk, you said, Truma LaHashem. So it's very clear that we're talking about Truma LaHashem. So what's the idea? Says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, a beautiful thing. Says, if you think you could just give something, a donation, and that's it, you're finished? No. You don't give a donation because you have to. You don't give a donation because you want to show off. I am a rich guy, I bring a donation. You bring a donation because you want to bring it from your heart. And only then it becomes Trumat Hashem. Only then it's a donation to God. It's Trumat Hashem. Otherwise, it's maybe a Truma, but not to God. It's to yourself. Because you did it because you had to do it. You did it because you want to show off. That's not the right reason. And when we want to build a Mishkan, it has to be from the best place, from the heart. That's why we see all the time in our Parsha, Chacham Lev, Nidiv Lev, Everything is from the heart, because otherwise you cannot build anything if it doesn't come from the heart. To do something because you have to do it, that's no good. When you love somebody, you don't do things because you have to do. You do them because you want to do them. And it's a small, big difference. And when we're talking about Vayakhel Moshe, and we're talking about everybody, talking about Shabbos, and all this thing is to understand, is there, I had an argument, not once, what you call in Hebrew, adata. What is adata? It's like forcing the religion on other people. This is a very important issue in Israel. Adata. They shout all the time about people that are trying to force the religion on other people. And you know, it's ridiculous, because all over the world, we see that in schools, if it's, let's say, for example, in Europe, in America, when they teach about Christianity in shul, nobody comes and shouts, "You're forcing the religion on us," because people understand that's a part of life and it's a part of tradition to know where you come from, what is the religion that is involved in your life, and you go on with life. You don't have to be religious, but the basic thing is to know about it, especially when we're talking about Am Israel, Eretz Israel, Torah Israel. Why are we here? Why did we get to Am Israel? Why did Am Israel come back to here, to Eretz Israel? For many years it was deserted. Why did we come here? Because of what? Because it belongs to us? Who said it? Because of the Torah. The Torah tells us that Am Israel, the Torah of Israel, that it with Eretz Israel, that's the combination that makes us what we are. And if you think for a minute, if you can just ignore it and live your life without it, you mistake. And what do I mean? He says, well, let me live, I let you live. It's a very nice. You hear it all the time. Tzaddik be'emunato yechyeh. A tzaddik will live with his belief. And they so distort the explanation. Well, what's the meaning of it? They think each one of us got his own life, and he should live his own life as long as it doesn't affect others. Does it affect others or not? So I have to tell you, I have a good friend, and he went to hospital from one reason, and they cured him from this disease he had, from the illness. Unfortunately, he got a virus in the hospital from who knows, somebody who was there, no connection with them, and unfortunately, he died. So in other words, we don't have to go far. My child went to a school where there were not such nice guys there in the school, and he came back home and he suddenly started to talk not in a nice way, a dirty language. So we took him out of the school and put him in a different school with better people, because there is an influence. If you think for a minute that you can live by yourself and don't care about others, look what happened to us this year. The corona came and showed the whole world, not only to us, to the whole world, that we are connected. So Vayakhel, when Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu to gather everybody, how can we all build the Mishkan? How can we all be a part of the Torah? Because we all know that there are different subjects, different issues, different talents, different people. Everybody with his own opinion, and it's no problem. As long as you take all your personal things and connect them together with a client. In other words, in order to build a Mishkan, we have to understand that each one of us has got a different talent. If we look at our Parsha, we see different things are being made by different people. But always is the heart there. And don't forget for a minute, what did Moshe Rabbeinu say at the beginning of the Parsha? Et Kol Israel, all of Am Israel. In other words, all of Am Israel are a part building the Mishkan, which means everybody has his own job in building the Mishkan. And also now, the same story. Mishkan is to be together, is to build my Mishkan with all the cloud, with all the congregation, with all the people. So, for example, we all know that we have different professions. You have carpenter, you have a lawyer, you have an accountant. If you need your accounts to be done, you don't go to the carpenter. If you need to go to trial, you won't go to the carpenter, you will go to the lawyer. And if you need your suit to be done, you don't go to the lawyer, you go to the tailor. And that's the way it is. But we need all of those things. And only if we give each other, then we do what we have to do. Look what Or HaChaim HaKadosh is saying to us. "Vatechel kol avodat Mishkan Ohel Moed." They finished all the job of the Mishkan. "Vayasu bnei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Hashem." And they did all what God ordered them to do. כן עשו. He says, עוד נראה, כי כאן עשה הכתוב מחברת הכללות. We have to see what's inside here. It says here, God generalized us. He took us all together as a klal with keeping the Torah. בקיום התורה, והראה כי בני ישראל, and he showed us that the children of Israel will benefit from each other. יזכו זה לזה. והתורה ניתנה להתקיים בכללות ישראל. And the Torah can only exist and be kept by all of the children of Israel. כל אחד יעשה היכולת שבידו. Each one of us does what he can do. And together we are going to benefit from each other and give to each other. And this is what he says, ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I don't need to explain this. Perush, what is to love your friend like you love yourself? He says, כמוך means, לצד שהוא כמותך, he is like you. כי בשלמה, when he's got it good, you've got it good. And it's unbelievable. And with him, you complete your task in life, your mission. And he is always, I used to come to places and ask them, what is this? You know, what is this? Everybody's answering. You know what they're answering? And we did it a few times already in the past. One, finger, hand. But you know what this is? This is me. What, the finger is not a part of me? If I have a problem with the finger, it's not going to hurt me? Of course. In other words, each one of Am Israel is a part. In other words, to say, you live your life, I live my life, doesn't go. Because you have to understand, you can live your life, no problem, as long as you make sure that also the others live their lives. If you care about the others, not you caring about yourself. We all, Avraham Avinu said, רק אין יראת אלוקים במקום הזה והרגוני על דבר אשתי. Says there is only one thing missing in this place, the fear of God. This he says to Avimelech. In other words, he says to Avimelech, after he took Sarah and he gave her back, he says, why did you do this? Why didn't you tell me it's your wife, etc. We all know the story. And he's asking, why did you do it? He says, what do you mean? You know, you've got everything. You've got good manners, you've got laws, you have courts, you have everything. You are very polite, but there is one thing missing, the fear of God. And if there is no fear of God, you've got nothing. What does it mean? Unfortunately, God showed us this with the Nazis. They were the most polite nation in the world, intelligent. And by the way, they were the first one to give the Jews freedom. But all of this is as long as it doesn't affect them. It's like the Rav Adam Sinai says, if you want to do peace, what is doing peace? So people think to do peace is, so you let me live, I let you live. I don't hurt you, you don't hurt me. It sounds like peace, it's no peace. That's only a cover-up for war. What do I mean? Because if I do peace, because I want to live my life and let you live your life, this is all good if your life doesn't affect my life. In other words, what I want is not what you want. It doesn't hurt me. But if you will want something that I've got, what's going to happen then? Is there going to be peace? Of course not. So what is real peace? Real peace is sharing, is giving to each other. Not I live my life and you live your life. I live my life with you together. I've got my own potential, my own talent. but I'm giving it to you as well as you do to me. This is vayakel. This is building a mishkan. Unfortunately, a lot of times in life, when we do this and we want to do, it's like in the next parsha Pekudei, it's always written, Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Not once. A lot of times we'll see in the parsha, they did the Mishkan like God ordered Moshe to do. Why do we need to know this all the time? Because if you go back, we had the sin of the golden calf. Why did it happen? Some people think that they wanted to worship idols. It's not so true. Why? Let's think. If they wanted to worship idols, why did they approach Aaron HaKohen? What, did they think that Aaron HaKohen is going to build them an idol? Aaron HaKohen? They could go to the shiur and sabros, those Egyptian sorcerers, and talk with them. They were with them. So why did they go to Aaron HaKohen? Because they had a good intention. They didn't think about worshiping idols, Chas v'Shalom. They just now saw God. They got the Torah from God. But they thought they knew everything. And if they know everything, they know what's right for them. And they thought, because one of the figures in the Merkava, which is something up there with the Kabbalah in the Torah Tasod, is an ox. So they thought that they will build here a statue like an ox, the egel, the calf, and this will be the connection between them and God. Chas v'Shalom, they don't want to worship the golden calf. And by the way, they were not far from the truth, because if we want to go into the Mishkan that they are building, inside the Mishkan, in Kodesh HaKodashim, the holiest of holiest places, is the shrine for the Torah. And what is on top of Aaron HaIdut? What do you think is on top of it? Two statues of kids, a young girl and a young boy. What is this? Is this not idol worshipping? You shouldn't do a statue. So Am Yisrael didn't go far from the truth if we think about it logically. But that's exactly the point. When we're talking about doing things from the heart, yes, but the heart has to be connected with the knowledge. What should we do? And not our knowledge. It's like vertigo. We talked about it a lot. What is vertigo? Vertigo is in the ear and you lose your balance. And that's a thing that sometimes pilots get when they lose the connection with all the instrument they've got, and they think that they know what to do by themselves, and they think they go up, but they go down. And a lot of terrible accidents happened like this. In other words, God is telling us there is only one way to look at life. You have to look at the instrument, and the instrument is the Torah. And who is representing the Torah? Gdolei Hador. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Because the generation of the desert, they were not stupid people. They were very knowledgeable. They saw God in their own eyes. But they thought that they can do what they want. They know it all, but you have to understand what we know is not what God knows. And certainly not what our sages tell us to do is not always what we think is the right thing to do. In the Torah, it tells us, if they tell you on right, left, on left, right, kol asher yarucha, whatever they tell you to do, you do. And you know, sometimes it's for us very hard to understand. But if you know, there is a road, Maccabit, that goes from the Shomron to Bar Ilan. And there you have a very interesting thing. If you want to go to Haifa, which is north, you have to go logically right. And if you're going to go to Ashdod, you have to go left. But the sign tells you differently. It tells you if you're going to go to Haifa, you have to go left. If you're going to go to Tel Aviv, you have to go right. What are we? I want to go to Ra'anana, I go right? What? Right is not Ra'anana, right is Haifa. But we don't see what's happening when we go onto this road, because the road goes like this, but then it turns around. But we don't see this. In other words, we think the right is right, but the right is not right, it's left. And this is that what we in life also don't know. We don't know where things are leading. We think we know that right is right and wrong is wrong. But not always is it like this. And that's why we have our sages. In every generation's got them. And they tell us what to do. Because if we do what we think to do, you see how it ended. All this good intention, they said all the good intention lead you to hell. And here it led Am Israel to idol worship. Why? Because they thought they know better. And this is something we have to understand, realize. We need those certain rules in order to do the right thing. First of all, to understand we are not alone. We are part of a congregation. And we have to use all our talents, not for ourselves, but for everybody, for the cloud. And then not only this, when we do this, don't do things because you think is the right thing. Even if it comes from your heart, you have to check if it's the right thing to do. This is why the Torah is telling us again and again, Al Pi Hashem. Only when we listen to our sages, we do the right thing. It's like I had this cleaner here at home. And after she left, I went to my room, and all the things I had on my near my bed, I see they're not there. And then I realized everything was clean, beautiful, unbelievable. But she also cleaned my stuff because she thought it's rubbish, and she threw it away in the garbage. And it was a very important thing that I needed. But she cleaned. She had all the good intention, but she didn't know. She didn't connect the knowledge. She didn't ask. Why do you throw things without asking the Balabayit? Nevertheless, I had this bottle of fluid for the barbecue. So I put it on top of the cupboards in the kitchen, on top of it, so nobody will touch it. I'll come to the kitchen. I don't see it anymore. So I said, oh, maybe she threw this also out. Later on, I wanted to do an egg, and I take the oil bottle out of the drawer, and I was very lucky to look, and I saw that what I'm holding in my hand is this poison, this liquid that can kill you. Again, she had all the good intention, but she didn't connect it with the knowledge. She didn't know what this bottle is, and why did I put it up there? Don't think for yourself. Ask. Even if you have the good intention. It's like this story they're telling about this guy who had a baby, I don't know how you say baby bear, whatever. And he had this, how is it called, baby bear? No, okay. You understand what I mean. And he was raising him, he was a very good friend of him, and become this big grizzly bear. And wherever they went, he was keeping eyes on his friend. Like when his friend was sleeping, the grizzly bear was standing, guarding, nobody will disturb him. One day, he goes to sleep under a tree, and the grizzly bear guards that nobody will come and disturb his friend. Unfortunately, comes a fly, and it sits on the nose of his friend. So his friend dies like this, and it comes again. So the bear saw this, says, okay, I have to take this fly away. So he gave a punch to the fly, and his friend went on sleeping forever. He had a good intention. But while he was sending away the fly, he also killed his friend. And this is something that we have to put in our mind. Good intention is not enough. The good way with the right intention is only if we do it as the Torah tells us to do. And we have to understand what we all connected together. And only if we all work on using our talents, our abilities to build together a nice society, then the corona will go away and nothing else will come, because God will understand that we learned the lesson, that we understand that when somebody does something wrong, it's not only affecting him, it's affecting everybody. And we have to take it into our heart. And believe me, I wrote the Dvar Torah and I looked at it. I thought I just wrote it now. We're talking about the third election. A year ago, I thought about, okay, now we ended the third election. Who would believe that we are standing now in front of the fourth election? And why is this? Because of ואהבת לרעך כמוך? Because we love each other? Because we share? Because we want to be together? No. This is sinat chinam. It's hate. And this is what brought this corona to us, to the whole world. So don't we learn the lesson? Shouldn't we learn the lesson? So I know you will say, I cannot fix the world. That's the world. But we can fix ourselves. At least try. Go in the right direction. Go in the right direction. Believe in God and use your talent and your abilities to help your friends, to be together. And maybe this small move will shake the world and shake the things around us and will do the change and do this difference between living for ourselves and living for the klal. And that's ואהבת לרעך כמוך. This is living for God. כל אשר ציווה השם את משה, כן עשו בני ישראל את כל העבודה. This is what God wants us. God wants us to do the right thing in the eyes of God. And then we will be not only happy, we will enjoy each other. Because you know, the most important thing for a human being is that people love him. You know, when you feel when you sit with your family that loves you, it's a good feeling. When you sit with people that love you, it's a good feeling. When you sit with people that hate you, that envy you, that want, you don't feel good. In other words, as the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, if we do good to each other, we're really doing good for ourselves, because everybody wants to be loved. Everybody. So if we love each other, we are really doing the good things for everybody and also for us. It's going to look a different world. I know it's only words, but you know, it's like they said, if we are smart in our heart, as the Torah tells us in Vayakhel, and we do what God asked us to do without trying to make our own translation to things, and not do changes that we see sometimes people are doing, like being more modern and do this and do that. Check what you do. Check the changes you do. Is it all right in the eyes of God or not? Even if you have the best intention in the world. It's like in Kuzari, the king who wanted to worship God, and an angel came to him and told him, "Kavanotecha retzuyot, your intention are very good, but your deeds, ma'asecha, enam retzuyot. You are going in the wrong direction." So why didn't they tell him what should he do? Because to tell, to listen, to lecture is not enough. We have to see it, we have to feel it, we have to ask, we have to look for the right. And this is, when you do this, it goes inside you. And this is building the Mishkan. Each one of us with his own talent. So I hope for all of us that we all use our own talents for the benefit of everybody, to build together a better society, a nicer society, a loving society, especially now when we're standing in front of the fourth election here in Israel. And maybe we will do the change, a small change, but will make, Be'ezrat Hashem, a big difference. All the best to everybody. Have a nice, whatever left from the week.